this is the Cleansah 101 with Karan. Karan, say hello.
Yes. Hi, this is Karan, and I'm the quadrant fencer for the Dark Star Quadrant, Dark Moon Fleet. And this is my introduction to Klin Zha.
And I am the Games Chancellor Chishui, also with Kodin, Norglosh, and Rotek. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
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 Okay, Karan, take it away.
So I think we've got the initial placement up here. And before we get into the game, need to look at the initial placement and some of the things that stand out. Okay, look at the blockader. Over there at square I-33, it is at the end of the board, out of play, and I would not put my blockader in that position. To me, the criteria for a good opening is basically the same thing as if I were playing chess. Control of the center of the board, mobility for my pieces, and hem my opponent in so that he can't make a decent move. And that is not the way I would place my blockader. If you just simply put it at I-34, you would get the benefit of all three squares of its zone of control instead of just the upper two. So the blockader is one of the first problems that I see with that setup. Okay, the Swift and the two forward vanguards. To me, that's okay. That's forward placement. It's you're vying for control of the center. The only thing about that is the vanguards cannot defend each other, and the Swift cannot defend either vanguard. So again, a little bit of forethought could make that better. But that's probably the best feature of the whole gold arrangement. The two flyers are okay. That's a good strong strike along the H file. But look over there in the corner. You've got the fencer, the lancer, and a vanguard. Now that vanguard is so far out of the action. I mean, you could sit and watch a movie by the time that vanguard gets over to where it can participate in the battle. So why put the vanguard that far into the corner? And if the fencer carrying the goal, what if the goal were under attack? The fencer can't move. It's trapped. And again, a flyer can just fly right over that lancer and get the goal. So why even do that? And what I'm trying to say is when you do first placement, don't make these mistakes. Okay, so one thing you might think about is how can you make this better? How can you, even if you position your Swift at H34, it could at least defend the vanguards, and it would be protected if you've placed your blockader properly. But this is almost a good idea and a basic hodgepodge. So let's look at the blue arrangement. Now, I'm not saying that this is perfect. I'm far from being a master of Klin Zha, but everything except my lancer is defended. My blockader is much more aggressively placed. toward the center of the board. I've got all three of my vanguards protected in the zone of control and are aggressively defending at the center of the board. And the Flyers and the Lancer are in a support mode. They're still close enough to the battle to participate. And the Swift is kind of a rear guard. Now, my fencer carrying the goal, I've got over there in the corner. But if you'll notice, I can move my fencer. The gold leader can't. So if the gold team ever tried to attack my fencer, at least I could get it out of the way. So this is my notes on initial placement. Do we have any comments or questions from anybody?
No one has any questions? It all seems to be straightforward.
I have a question about the fencer, the yellow. So you were saying that it can't go nowhere because you have a lancer in front of it, whereas
That's
the green,
right.
whereas the green, the fencer can move because it's not blocked.
Right.
Okay, I got that part.
Yes, in
Only
Klin Zha, yes,
only the flyer can jump over other pieces.
and it doesn't matter whether it's your own or the enemy. You can't jump over another piece.
Only the flyer.
Are there any other
Is that it?
questions? Okay, Corinne.
Okay, well, how about a little pop quiz before we start the game? Okay, part one. How could my blockader's zone of control, and therefore my hold on the center of the board, be improved? Any suggestions?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Okay, I have got 3 vanguards in my zone of control, and they are trying to control the center of the board. How could I have made that stronger? How could I have rearranged my pieces to get a stronger grip on the center of the board? Any ideas?
Put the blockader on H56.
H56. Okay. I wouldn't have H46, but would you use the 2 vanguards, or would you try to put a flyer or maybe a swift or something in its place? What if I put my 2 flyers and the lancer in those
I
3
know that
spots?
Norglosh had a suggestion.
Okay, Norgles?
Well, I was thinking of a similar setup, but with the 2 rear vanguards, replacing those with flyers, and that front vanguard replaced with a swift.
Very good. The next game that I might try that arrangement, because that would give me a lot more range. And I could place my vanguards forward so that they could engage the enemy, protected by my armada in the zone of control. Very good. Any other comments?
All right, so just to verify, he was saying that, okay, I see the vanguards in front. You have the green that has the vanguards in front, with 2 of them, and then you have the blockade in the middle. Then you have the 2 vanguard yellows, but they're out there in front.
They're just out there in
he,
front and they are undefended.
so he was saying that he put a Swift instead?
No, we're talking about for the green squad.
Oh, he put the Swift in the front.
Yeah, put the Swift in the front up there at G47, and then put the two flyers in the two rearward cells of the zone of control. That would be a very good arrangement.
If you arranged it like that against that yellow setup, you could take out the flyer at H24, the Swift at G25, or the Vanguard at G35 on your very first move.
Very good.
You could take all three of those in one move?
No, you could take one of the three. If you actually took this, no, I guess any way you did it, you'd lose a piece. But for example, if you took the flyer at H24 on your first move from the flyer at H57, the flyer that's right behind that at H23 has to move 3, 4, 5, or 6 spaces. It cannot move the one space to capture your flyer from that move.
Right, it jumps over those first two cells, and it can only capture on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th cell from where it is originally.
So because of where the yellow pieces are placed, it's a weak defense against the flyer. You're saying the Swift, I mean.
It's a very weak opening arrangement. Okay, this brings up part 2 of the pop quiz. This is basically a symmetrical hinge arrangement. Hinge because it is symmetrical about its major axis. That would be the long axis from G47 to I-99. Okay, if we keep the Vanguard arrangement as I've got now, my Lancer is undefended. So, for one, how can I, move, change this around so that I can either defend my Lancer or, better still, get a concentrated attack along the H and I ranks. So how can we modify the green arrangement for a concentrated attack on the lower two ranks? For one thing, if you wanted to leave it the way it is, just simply moving the Swift to I-78 or I-77 would do that partially.
Yeah, that would defend the Lancer. You could also bring that that flyer at G68 or G69 down to H67, which would give, because they can both of those flyers can go 6 spaces, and that you'd have one along the I line and one along the H line, and then you could move your Swift as well down to one of those other 2 spaces.
So what you're telling me is that if I move the flyer from G69 to H67 and then scooted the Swift down to say I-78, everything would be defended and it would be a concentrated attack and complete control of the center of the board, right?
That's how I would see it.
Very good. Do you begin to see, not that my opening arrangement is so great, but do you begin to see some of the strengths and weaknesses in this initial position? Any other questions, comments, or anything before we get started in the game?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Starting off. Now, in Klin Zha, there is no set value for the pieces as they are in chess. But I would say that the Vanguard has got a value of 1, and anything else is about a 3 or a 4. So in other words, you don't want to sacrifice any other piece for a Vanguard because you will lose material. And you certainly don't want to attack a piece, to move so that you're under attack, but you're undefended and you can't even, capture your attacker. So with that being said, the first move is going to be flyer at H24, moves to H56. Okay, so the only reason I can see for that move is he's attacking my Lancer. But he could have just as easily done that from H46, and he would have been out of reach of my Vanguard. So we've got a very valuable flyer that's about to get captured by a lowly Vanguard. So Vanguard at H57 captures flyer at H56. Okay, I just got a freebie. A very valuable flyer, and I didn't even get my Vanguard captured. So now, do you think that the gold squad has learned their lesson? No. Their second move is going to be flyer at H23, captures Vanguard at H56. I have captured 2 flyers and lost 1 Vanguard. In other words, I just hit the jackpot. So before we go any further, does everybody see that those are 2 moves that you just don't want to make if you were playing the gold?
I see that very well.
Why would you want to lose a valuable flyer for essentially nothing? Now I can just start systematically destroying the gold position. The gold player's next move is Vanguard at G35. Moves to H35. Okay, this is the first logical move that the gold player has made. The first that's got any sense about it. At least the 2 Vanguards now can defend each other. Because I would have, my next move would have been to capture that Vanguard that was right in front of me. As it is, I move Vanguard at G47. Moves to G46. Okay, now I advance my Vanguard. It is protected by the Lancer, and I am extending my control of the board. I am taking advantage of my opponent's poor board position by denying him as much mobility as I can. So, at this point in time, what would you do if you were the gold commander? Ideas, anybody?
Follow my own bat left.
Wait a couple of moves for that.
Yeah, I
But
don't
some
think there's
ideas. If
much
you're
more you can do.
there's plenty you can do. You can move your blockader up to a little more, a little better position. You can move your lancer, your other vanguard. You can make
I
it so
see.
that you can move your fencer.
You could move
Yeah,
your
at some
blockader
point-
more to the middle and give a bigger, because
Okay,
it's
now you
only
see,
showing the edge.
there's one thing about the blockader. It it can hem in your opponent. And
Yeah,
if I'm
'cause it's
playing you in
like,
a game, I will shove it down your throat if you'll let me. And I will butt you up in a corner to where you can't even scratch an itch if you'll let me.
yeah, 'cause the blockader's just a big wall.
Right. It's a safe haven for your pieces to attack from, and it is an impenetrable wall for your opponent, except the flyers.
I would bring my Swift down, to have a line of sight towards the goal.
I might worry about unboxing your goal before it's too.
Smart move.
Well, if you move the blockader from I-33 to H-23, because you can move 2 spaces, that denies access to your goal to anything but the green flyers, and you're still able to move your lancer out of the way at that point to give your fencer and goal some more mobility.
Very good. You could also do that with moving the blockader to H34. Either way, you would be tending to open up things. You would be able to move your lancer out to make it a more useful piece, and you'd be freeing up your fencer because pretty soon it's going to get pretty hot in that corner. So, would anybody take the Swift and capture my Vanguard at G46? That is the next move for Mr. Gold Commander. Swift at G25.
Oh yeah, your book. No one knocked on the door.
Captures
No one knocked on the door.
Vanguard at G46.
And that would make it flyer food.
Lancer food.
Oh, even better.
Because my next move is going to be Lancer at H56. Captures Swift at G46. At this
Alabama?
point, I have lost 2 Vanguards and I have captured 2 Flyers and a Swift. The game is essentially over. It's all over but the shouting. And now I just start my inexorable march to the corner. There is essentially nothing that the Gold Commander can do right now. The 2 Vanguards are very limited in their offensive capabilities. The blockader isn't really doing any good at all. And the other 3 pieces are totally out of the picture. So, what does the Gold Squad do?
Now they fall on their bat left.
They're getting it ready and lined up. Lancer at I-12. moves to I-22. Oh, now there's a good move. So at least we can move the fencer one square. If they had moved the Lancer out to I-23, at least the fencer could, begin to get a little more out into the game. But you see how totally hemmed in and useless those three pieces are. And before we go any further, maybe take a minute or two. Do you kind of get an idea of what's going on, some of the strategy and tactics, and why you don't want to make some of these moves? Blockader at G57. Moves to H56. Okay, let's go ahead with the next gold move, and then we'll take another moment to discuss. Vanguard at H35 moves to H34. Same thing. Why, would anybody make that move?
Because the signal for retreat has been issued and that guy at the back didn't get the order? As though they're leaving him as fodder.
We have a Vanguard guilty of cowardice in the face of the enemy. The only real logical thing about that gold position was the two Vanguards could defend each other. And that other Vanguard wasn't even attacked. Why move him back? Can anybody tell me what my next move is going to be?
Lancer to
blockade.
Lancer captures at H45.
Yeah.
You're right. Lancer at G46. Captures Vanguard at H45. The gold squads move, and would anybody guess? What kind of a move would you make if you were gold squad? Any ideas?
Right now, you want to block your home, wouldn't you? Because the Vanguard can't take the Lancer. So now you have to think about doing something to protect the home.
Okay, if the Vanguard tries to move toward the Lancer, I can still capture him. He's still undefended.
Right.
He's not even defended right now.
Right.
At least you could move the Lancer to defend the Vanguard, because he is definitely liable to be captured. So you could even move the blockader up to put the Vanguard in the zone of control. Either one of those moves would be good. And they're about the only two real options that the gold squad has right now. Would anybody guess that the gold commander makes this next move?
I bet they move the Vanguard from H34 to H20.
That would be too logical.
Yeah, because that would at least protect that would at least put your Lancer, the gold Lancer, in a position to take the Green Lancer if he took the Vanguard. I'm guessing H12 is going to H. I don't know. 13.
Close. The Gold Squad moves the Vanguard from H12 to I12. Okay, at this point, if you were the green player, what would you do?
Well, I would move the flyer at I-67 to I... Or sorry, yeah. 67 to I-44. And then after that, it's one move to take the goal.
Very good. But I wasn't thinking that. I was still demolishing the enemy position.
Well, I mean, if you want to...
I knew that I could do it with impunity.
Well, yeah, if you want to toy with them.
I like to humiliate my opponent. And we'll get into lightning strikes on the next time if there's a next time. So, my move was Lancer at H45. Captures Vanguard. Vanguard at H34. What does the gold player do?
Pray.
It needs to. Vanguard at I12. Moves to H12.
Deja vu.
So does everybody see how a poor initial placement and stupid moves that get your pieces captured leads to a position that you essentially can do nothing from? Any comments or questions?
When does the gold player yell medic?
See, even with that initial setup, even with the initial setup that the gold player had, there were ways to save it or correct course, but only early on.
Right, after it lost the two flyers, it was pretty much over. And especially after it lost the Swift. I mean, after that, it had no real offensive capability. And at this point, I really need to make that flyer move and end this travesty. But just to prove a point, I make my 8th move. Blockader at H56 moves to H45. What does he do? His 9th move?
He moves that Vanguard back.
No.
It would have been funny, though.
Better move that blockade.
He's not going to move that Lancer like up to H24, is he?
33 moves to I-23. So again, no, I mean, he could move it, the blockader up, not that it would do him any good, but if he moves his blockader far enough up, then you won't be able to move your flyer far enough to capture the goal on the next move. Okay, at this point, I go ahead and move my flyer, what I should have done before. Flyer at G69. Moves to G36. At this point, with the specter of impending doom looming over him, what does he do?
Pray faster.
Blockader at I-23.
H-23.
The blockader was at I-23, and it moves
goes
to H-23.
And that would be a perfect positioning if you had no flyers left.
I mean, is it trying to block my Lancer? No, the Lancer has done its due. And, I mean, it's still got one sail in the zone of control, but it's not going to do it any good. Okay, do I need to ask you what my next move is going to be?
Flyer is going to finish its charge across the board to the edge, I think.
Or you try to
Okay,
kill
I'm
all the
using
pieces before you capture the
my
goal.
flyer at G36. Moves to G14. 34. Okay, the flyer moves to I. I-34.
Which puts the goal in check.
And I'm attacking the goal. And even if the fencer moves its only move to I-22, it does no good. The game is essentially over at this point. It was at G14. Blockader at H-23. Moves to H-13. And again, in a vain attempt to block me. And my next move is to capture the goal. Flyer at G14. Captures goal at I-11. End of game.